Well, welcome to Dallas Social Toastmasters Thursday night. And I will go ahead and show everyone the agenda on our Dallas Social Toastmasters website. You go to our website, click on current agenda, and there is our agenda for the meeting. And I will go ahead and stop share now and turn over the meeting to our Toastmaster, Justin.
Thank you, Karen.
We have an invocation pledge.
Oh yes, the pledge. So what Seth is doing the pledge. So
Sorry, I think I don't have the US flag. I was not aware, I apologize, that you needed that to carry out.
Rob
has one and we've
Rob has it.
I was gonna say, do you just have one just always?
He has it. Yeah, so if you can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, sorry, you guys.
Okay. I guess what's up? So yeah, we'll just go to Pledge of Allegiance. So if you can, please stand or sit. We'll just I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, yeah, thank you, Seth. Thank you, Rob. So, do we have any distinguished guests that we want to recognize?
We do have one guest. Her name is Shima. Shima.
Yes, hello, Seema. How are you? Okay, so we will go on to our duty holders portion of our section of the meeting. So first, we do with our timer, Jessica. Jessica, can you please explain your role?
Yes, I can. Can you guys still see me if I switch over to a script on my phone or no?
No.
Okay. Well, all right. So thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests. As timer, I will be helping the speakers practice expressing a thought within a specific time. My duty during this meeting is to time prepared speeches, table topic speeches, and speech evaluations. The green card background indicates minimum goal time. The yellow background is a target goal time, and the red background is a maximum goal time, and you will have 30 seconds to finish up. For a 5 to 7 minute prepared speech, I'll show the green card background at 5 minutes, the yellow card background at 6 minutes, and the red card background at 7 minutes, and you will have 30 seconds to finish. For table topics, each speaker is encouraged to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. I will show the green card background at 1 minute, the yellow card background at 1 minute and 30 seconds, and the red card background at 2 minutes, and you will have 30 seconds to finish. For evaluators, you have 2 to 3 minutes. The green card background is shown at 2 minutes, the yellow card background at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and the red card background at 3 minutes, and you will have 30 seconds to finish. If you speak under time or over time by more than 30 seconds, you will be disqualified and will not be eligible for awards. However, for table topics, you must reach at least 1 minute, no grace for that. I will report qualifying times when called upon throughout the meeting. Thank you, and back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jessica. Just for correction for tonight, it's a special speech that Lee is giving. It's going to be 18 minutes to 22 minutes maximum time. So it's going to be a pretty long speech. Our next role is grammarian. Madeline, can you please explain your role, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As grammarian, it's my responsibility to pay close attention to all the speakers, listening carefully to their use of grammar and language. I'll take note of any egregious misuses of the English language, as well as any awesome or exceptional uses. I may also note any additional interesting words or phrases you throw out there. So as grammarian, it's also my duty to introduce the word of the day. For today's meeting, the word of the day is delegate. And there's actually two different meanings to this, and you can use either one. So the first one is a delegate, and that is a delegate of a elected representative. And so it's a person that's authorized to represent others, delegate. And then the other meaning is delegate. And so that is to entrust a task to another person, and that is to delegate. So either one of those meanings, totally fine. I will also post this in the chat as well. Each speaker is encouraged to use the word of the day. To qualify for best table topic speech, you must use the word of the day in your response to the question or topic. At the end, I will give a word of the day report once we're done with table topics when called upon. I'll also provide a word of the day and grammarian's report when called upon by the general evaluator toward the end of the meeting. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madeline. That was very, very good. Also, a reminder, we're not in person, so we can't clap when we speak. So we like to do the hands. So after everyone speaks, please use your hands as a clapping. So next one is the vote counter. Lisa, please explain your duty, please.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmaster and welcome guest. As vote counter, I will accept votes through the private chat to me and count the votes after the audience votes for best speaker, best table topic speaker, best evaluator, and best of the big three. The big three are the Toastmaster, the table topics master, and the general evaluator. I will record which person wins in each category. I will not cast a vote for myself except in the case of a tie, in each case I will cast a vote to break the tie. However, I will not announce that there was a tie vote. Again, place your vote by sending a message in a private chat only to me. At the end of the meeting, I will announce the winners. You may also, and I encourage you to do, send comments to each speaker, evaluator, and table topic participant by sending private chats messages to that person directly. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lisa. Our next duty holder is counter. Tom, please explain your duty.
Thank you very much, Master Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. My duty as the counter is to listen carefully for verbal distractions such as you know, and other filler words and sounds. I'll keep track of those and also repeated words like the, or I. And finally, I'll also keep track of long pauses only to the extent that they become distracting. Normally, if we were face-to-face, I would, when I hear these scratch words, I'd use a clicker to notify the speaker. But since we're remote, I won't be doing that. I'll keep track of the number of these errors that each speaker commits, and I will give a report when called upon at the end of the meeting. And lastly, before I hand it back to you, I will note that since I am the counter this evening, I'll have to delegate my normal role of being the guy who says a million times during their speech to somebody else. So that one's open this evening. Back to you, Justin.
Thank you, Tom. Great use of the word of the day. So our final duty holder is posture monitor, John Vessels.
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. I will be your posture monitor tonight. And as the posture monitor, I will watch for distracting body movements or use of the hands, or we won't have as much tonight since we're not in person. I can't see fig leaf or any of the other basketball or different kind of things that go on. But I will watch for distracting postures that I can't see, and I will present a report at the end of the evening when called upon by the general evaluator. Back to you, Justin.
Thank you, John. So our topic is springtime / spring cleaning. This is an important time of the year. We think of springtime, you think of flowers blooming, warm weather, nature, finally being able to go outside without the cold weather. But let's get into spring cleaning, okay? And there's a few tips I want to give you guys for spring cleaning this spring, so you can really delegate that to the best of your abilities and get the house clean, smelling good, smelling fresh, and smelling great. The first tip is when I like to actually clean my mattress about twice a year. I use baking soda actually. Cover the mattress with baking soda, then I vacuum it off. And it's great for removing odors and also for removing stains as well. Very cheap, easy to use, great use of cleaning. The second one is cleaning your pillows. I like to stick my pillows in the dryer, have a sponge, get some lavender on it, stick it in. It sanitizes the pillows. Quick, easy, done. The third one is Windex. I use Windex cleaner to clean the outside of my windows about once a year. Go outside, clean the windows down, have them all sparkling and clean. That's for the outside of the windows. For the indoor windows, I use a spray foam window cleaner. I wash them down, all clean, inside, outside, bam, I'm finished. The fourth tip is cleaning your fridge and pantry. Be sure to clean every single portion of your fridge, take out all the food, clean up the entire area. Also, be sure to throw away any expired food from your fridge and pantry. Finally, my final tip is dust the walls with a Swiffer and spray it with a spray in dust. Spray it with a Swiffer, dust the walls, dust the light fixtures. Be sure to turn off the lights and get them lights bright and clean. That's pretty much it for my tips. We'll go on to our first speech. And speech by Lee King. The evaluator will be Rob Giles. So Rob Giles, please introduce our speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. I'll be evaluating Mr. Lee King's speech this evening. Lee's speaking out of a project called Prepare to Speak Professionally. And the purpose of this is for Lee to practice developing and presenting a longer speech. He's completing this project. He's working to build the skills necessary to engage the audience for an extended period of time. He'll deliver an engaging keynote style speech, perhaps. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any style that he chooses. It should demonstrate excellent presentation skills and deliver compelling content. It's not a report on the content of this project, but again, as I mentioned, it can be a speech about whatever he chooses it to be. His time for Madam Timer, his time is going to be 18 to 22 minutes. 18 to 22 minutes. So Lee, just before we do this, what do we say? 18 for the green, 20 for the yellow, and then red at 22?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay, you have that, Madam Timer?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. His speech title is Science of Birds. And again, his time is 18 to 22 minutes. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rob. Lee King, Science of Birds, Lee King. Lee, so you're on mute.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Tonight, I'm going to share with you some information about birds that you might find interesting. After all, sometimes birds may seem very simple, but in other ways, they are actually quite complex. And tonight, I thought it would be worth sharing some of these unique aspects of birds with you all. So first, let's talk about the origin of birds. The origin of birds actually goes back much further and down a whole different route than what a lot of people might expect. Have any of y'all ever heard of the birds coming from lizards or other reptiles? Probably a number of you have, but in reality, birds actually derived from dinosaurs, which is a different type of reptile than a lizard. And ironically, they come from the very same type of reptile family as the T-Rex, which actually formed in the late Jurassic era of the Earth's development, which occurred about 145 million years ago. So it's hard to imagine that birds are over 145 million years old. And the first fossil of birds were actually discovered back in 1860, in the 1860s. And these creatures actually look more like a dinosaur, but they had feathers along their wings and on parts of their chest, but they didn't have feathers all over. And to help better illustrate this, I thought I would share with you all a short video just so you could get a better understanding of how birds evolved and have a better appreciation. So as you're watching this video, pay close attention to the figures and how they changed over time, and also the feather development. So as you can see, birds have evolved in many different ways and have gone down a path that some people may not have fully expected. I know that this was interesting for me, to say the least. So to help people understand a little bit better about exactly how the evolution of birds took place, I found this chart. Now the video, just for your sake, actually came from Berkeley University, the same as this chart, and you can see how birds evolved from the millions of years ago over time, and you can see how they started out quite large and they were wingless, and then as time developed, they became skinnier and a little lighter framed, and then started to form the beginning of feathers, and then continue to grow all the way to what we perceive birds as today with feathers. Now, when it comes time to identifying birds, there's many different ways and different things that you have to look at to really tell exactly what type of bird you are looking at if you're trying to determine a species of bird. And these are all of the different parts of the bird's anatomy that can give you clues as to what type of bird you're looking at. If it's a blue jay or cardinal or some other type of bird. But you might also find differences within these areas among the different genders of birds within the same species. And I have a pretty good example of that, and you'll probably be surprised to see that. Now, reproduction of birds is very different than mammals because they are reptiles, but they're even different among reptiles. But the thing to keep in mind is that all birds are oviparous. That means that they actually lay eggs. Viviparous is more like humans who we give live birth, but there are no birds that give live birth. They're all eggs. And they are also similar to mammals in that they are all genetically linked as far as what determines their gender. Unlike some reptiles, such as turtles, crocodiles, some snakes, a few lizards, are actually their gender is determined by temperature. And if you look at research among some reptiles, you'd be surprised or not surprised to learn that there's significantly different alterations in genders. So for some crocodiles, you'll see more males than females right now because the temperature is getting warmer. But birds, they are all genetically linked. Now their genetics are different. We use the X and Y chromosomes, but birds and other reptiles use a Z and W type of a system. A little bit different. And also what's different is traditionally we think of the XX chromosome, so the double letter chromosome being associated with females, but in reptiles, it's exactly the opposite. So ZZ is actually the male and a ZW is the female. And then finally, another interesting fact is that there's a difference in the size, like in humans or other mammals. The X chromosome is actually larger than the Y chromosome among mammals. Now, in reptiles, the Z chromosome is larger than the W chromosome. So the Z is going to be the more dominant one. And what is interesting is that in this particular case, it's not the male that determines the gender of the offspring, like in humans and mammals. it's the male. The male is going to either give an X or a Y, but the female is X chromosome. It's the exact opposite among reptiles and birds. So the male is always going to give the Z chromosome, and then it's up to the female to determine if it's going to be a Y or, a W or a Z. So it's actually the reverse. The females are the sex determining parent. When you're looking at birds, there are some certain terms also among the life cycle and reproduction. So you have clutch size, that's the number of eggs. The broods per year, that's the number of times they will mate within a 12-month period. You have an incubation time, which is the amount of time that the birds sit on the eggs. And then also there's the nesting time, the amount of time that the bird spends in the nest before it leaves the nest. One interesting thing about, and one common misconception about the incubation process is people believe that it's females that keep the eggs warm, and sometimes it is, but a lot of times, interesting with birds is it is actually both parents that take care of the young. And so sometimes it is the male that will sit on the eggs. And because birds are reptiles, so they don't have the same type of body temperature that we do, they actually will pick out some of the feathers around the area in which they're going to sit on the eggs. So it is actually skin to egg contact. Going along with the life cycle, there are several different stages within the life cycle. So first there are the eggs. Then they are called hatchlings once they hatch. Generally at this point they don't fly, they don't even have feathers, and frequently they don't have vision. They are born blind. Then there's the nesting period. This is while they're still in the nest, they're still developing. And unlike mammals, when they hatch, they actually are still developing. So their development is not complete. Unlike with us, where our development is pretty much complete. I mean, we'll continue growing and changing, obviously, after birth, but all of our organs are functioning normally at this point. Your eyes are developed, ears, hearing, all of your senses are intact, but that's not the case with most reptiles, especially with birds. And then there are fledglings, and this is where they will actually begin to form wing muscles, and they will actually begin to explore the world outside of the nest. However, they are still dependent on their parents for feeding at this time. The juvenile bird is when they are actually beginning to form more colors, although their colors are still rather dull, but they're more like the adult at this point. So it might be a little bit confusing to see the difference between a juvenile bird and an adult bird. Then there's the subadult phase. This is where the bird actually is going through its puberty, and at this point they are fully matured, but they're not sexually mature at this point just yet. So therefore they are not able to mate, and because of that, the hard life at this point, they are beginning to go out and form flocks and find their own niche in life. And then finally there is the adult stage. Now, another interesting thing about birds, and when we talk about the nest and the life cycle of the bird, it's not uncommon for an egg, if it is left behind for some reason, for another female to pick up that other egg, even if it is of an opposite gender or of opposite species, and take it to the nest their own nest and care for that bird as if it is their own bird. Now, where it gets really kind of funny and ironic is that even though one species may adopt this other foreign egg to take care of it, doesn't mean that the fledgling will necessarily really care for the nestlings. And there are documented cases where the fledglings may actually eat the mother's eggs, the biological mother's eggs, or perhaps need a little more room and kick some of the nestlings out of the nest. And generally speaking, the parent birds are not too disturbed by this and will not push the fledgling out. They will go ahead and continue to take care of the fledgling. And it's one of the very few rare exceptions among reptiles where other species will take care of their own, yet a different species, if that makes sense. So in other words, a cardinal might actually foster a blue jay. Now, birds are very diverse, as you may have noticed in the video. There are over 18,000 extant birds or bird species that are living today, which is a really huge amount of birds if you think about it, more than what we would ever really guess. More than 150 species have gone extinct over the last 500 years, and more than about 1,400 birds species today are currently considered endangered, and that's about 14% of all of the bird species in the world. And then not all birds fly. Some birds are flightless, but all birds today do have wings and feathers. A good example of flightless birds, of course, would be your ostriches, peacocks, also penguins don't fly, they swim. So there are many examples of flightless birds, and then those that do fly. And then some can fly short distances, but not long distances. And Texas is actually very unique when it comes to birds. Texas actually has over 657 different species of birds, and we trail California by just a little bit. California has the most amount of different species within one state. They actually have 676 different bird species. But Texas has no endemic bird species, meaning that they only reside in the state of Texas. However, the golden chicked warbler only breeds in Texas, and then they will travel further south to Mexico in the spring, and then come back north as the temperatures change, but they only mate and breed in the state of Texas. Texas also has 10 what they call specialty bird species, that is, that they travel north from Mexico to South Texas and then travel no further north. So Texas is the only place in the United States that you can find these specific 10 species of birds. And additionally, there are about another 37 what they call rare bird species that have been noted in Texas since 2010. And they're actually expecting Texas to continue to grow in the type of bird species that will be coming to our state simply because of climate change. And as the climate changes, they predict that Texas might actually become a more habitable environment for some birds, possibly up to about 25% over the years to come. Now, it's important to realize that if you are unique and you enjoy watching birds and you find this one bird and you think that, oh, this is a unique bird and I want to go get myself published, you actually have to take pictures of it. You have to give times. There's actually a committee on bird species in Texas, and they have to approve that that sighting actually was legit. You actually have to show proof that that bird was there, rather than just saying that you saw this bird. So there is actually quite a process in getting yourself the notoriety that you actually spotted a rare species or a new species to the state of Texas. So these are just a couple of common birds that people will see from time to time, although sometimes we don't see them as much as we once used to. The blue jay is a good example. Now, blue jays are, they have no difference in markings between genders. So this could be a male. It could also be a female blue jay. We don't know. But we know it's a mature blue jay because of the coloring. It's a very rich color. Young blue jays are a little lighter blue color, not as vibrant. Now, here's a surprise for some people. The great crackle that we see all over, it actually is different in their markings between genders. For example, this bird here on the left, the one that we see most frequently, if you go out to the grocery store, they're all over the place. Usually it seems like you'll see these dark black ones. And this is the male. Over here on the right, you'll actually see the female. And you can see that there is a difference. They actually have that brown head and that brown breast. And then, of course, the rest of them is black. So if you're not looking real carefully, or at times you will see big flocks of just solid black birds, those are just flocks of males, which really drives home that old saying, birds of a feather flock together. Cardinals, of course, there's quite a difference between a male and a female. Again, they're pretty common in Texas. You can see them at different times of the year. Both blue jays and cardinals will come to birdseed, other types of bird baths, anything that they like, water, beer, bird seeds, they will come to your backyard. Crackles, of course, will come to anything. They are your traditional type of scavenger, basically. And then, of course, you've got the northern mockingbird, which is the state bird. And then finally, there was the bald eagle sighting, and there actually still is out at White Rock Lake. A couple of a family of bald eagles have called North Texas home, and they are residing at White Rock Lake. The eggs were destroyed during the windstorm about a week or so ago, but the male and female did actually start to rebuild their nest, and it looks like they may very well stay at White Rock Lake, that they are getting all the nourishment they need, the environment's what they like it to be, and they're happy staying here. And one thing to keep in mind with bald eagles is it is, on a first offense, a Class A misdemeanor, which could cost you $2,000 and 5 years in prison on the first offense, and a felony on the second offense if you do anything to disrupt the bird, or you take any parts of the bird. So if you take any parts of the nest, even if you see one of their feathers laying on the ground, it is actually illegal to pick up a bird feather off of the ground from legal. And with that, I will now turn control back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lee. Very, very informative speech. Thank you. Learned a lot. We'll go to our timer. Jessica, did Lee King make the time?
He was over time by almost 4 minutes, but did make it. So good job.
Okay, thank you. So we can disqualified. That was a really very fascinating speech. I liked it a lot. Actually, that leads into our second topic, springtime. I like to go actually walking, go on trails to White Rock Lake, do some bird watching. Hey, if they got an eagle, I might bring a camera and try to capture it. I'll keep this short though, since the speech was so long. I like to go hiking sometimes. There's a hiking trail in Cedar Hill that I go to, and they have some short trails, some long trails, and here's some tips for you guys to just, if you decide to go hiking during the nice weather, just to remember. The first thing is do your research, look up which trail, look up how long it is. Also check the weather. Bug spray is a must. Get some off. Bug spray. Wear long sleeves and long pants to avoid ticks. Check if they have a map or if you can use Google Maps during your walking trail. That would be good as well. Sunscreen, sunglasses, first aid kit if it's a long trail or you need it. Also, I bring a knife in case I have to cut any wires or cut any trees. Bring a knife or some tools. Also bring snacks and water. That concludes our theme. We'll go into our impromptu speeches, table topics. Mark Schroeder is our topic master. Mark Schroeder.
Thank you so much, Justin. One quick thing back on the bald eagle. I think it's interesting. If I remember correctly, it was Benjamin Franklin that recommended making the American turkey be the national bird rather than the bald eagle. And it's interesting to see what's happened since then, because of course, right now, completely protected. We've had issues with the bald eagle almost going extinct because it has no commercial value to anybody. Nobody can touch it. Nobody can do anything without it being an offense. Whereas turkeys are exactly the opposite. And turkeys are never going to go extinct at this point in America. And if we had reversed those, we'd have bald eagles coming out of all sorts of ranches everywhere. And instead we might have turkeys being almost entirely extinct. It's interesting what a decision like that can make. All right, so this is going to be table topics, which is, you can think of it as impromptu speaking or being asked to speak off the cuff. You have two goals. Goal number one is you have to speak between 1 and 2 minutes. You have to make the 1 minute mark. After the 2 minute mark, you still have 30 seconds, so you have it up until 2:30. So you will see the flags at 1, 1.5, and 2. Have to make the green. After the red comes up, you still have 30 seconds. And you also have got to use the word of the day. And the word of the day, again, for those who need a little reminder, is delegate, which is a person who is either sent or authorized to represent someone else or to entrust a task or responsibility to someone else. So those are the two goals. You have to meet those in order to be eligible for a vote. What I'm going to do is start asking a few questions. Guests, please listen up as well, because I will ask if any of you would like to have a shot at one of these questions after you've seen a couple people do it. We do have a limited amount of time, so I'm not going to ask too many questions tonight, but I will ask a few. And I'm going to start with, we are in the spring, and of course, everyone thinks of spring flowers. So if you were to do a spring planting, what would you plant? It's Texas. Would you pick local flora so that you don't have to worry about the high maintenance that some of the other plants are? Would you pick silk? What would you plant? And this question is going to go to, let's see. How about Jessica?
Thank you, Mark.
I can time you, Jessica.
Okay, thank you. Interestingly enough, I was just talking to a coworker of mine regarding plants because we were in not a Zoom call, but what do you call that? I think it was Skype. And so she had her background unfiltered and she had plants that she had just bought in, and She was very unhappy with them because she kills them all. She can't seem to maintain any plants. So she was going to get succulents because they're very low maintenance. And I couldn't remember the exact qualifications of what they needed. I believe they only require watering maybe once a month or something along those terms. I also am not a good plant keeper. I like dogs. Those are who I take care of, not plants. But if I did have plants, I would delegate the caretaking to my husband. And I would probably like to plant sunflowers because I think they are very bright and colorful, and bright colors put a smile on my face. And I think that they, bring brightness into a room. So that is what I would plant. Back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jessica. For what it's worth, I'm just about to buy a sterling silver rose bush, if they actually have them. Growers hate them. They are one of the worst roses ever to grow, but they have the most amazing, fragrant, light lavender blooms that you can imagine. But they are so hard to grow that the saying is, friends don't let friends grow sterling silver roses, because everybody that grows them, they die. They can grow anything else, but those die. I'm going to have a shot at it. We'll see what happens. Next question, we're at spring. Just a couple of weeks ago, I did the Cupid's Undie Run on Saturday, February 12th, which is an outdoor run in your underwear at, it turned out, 42 degrees. I was not expecting 42 degrees, but that's what we got. But it is getting warmer outside. What is your favorite outdoor activity for spring? And this question is going to go to Wasif.
Thank you, Mark, delegating that question to me. So my outdoor activities in spring, after taking Zyrtec, give 2 batches of Zyrtec probably for the allergies. I think just hang out with my friends. Given that this pandemic, we've always been enclosed. I think for me, my favorite activity is just going out with friends, sitting out in the outside, drinking, happy hour drinking and catching up. So I think that's probably my favorite thing, and just probably going for walks and walking my dog. But yeah, Zyrtec and sunscreen. And then, yeah. So those are the things, yeah.
Okay.
And staying hydrated, I suppose, but yeah.
All right. Thank you, Wasif.
Yeah,
sunscreen is actually an issue for me. My favorite sunscreens, 2 of them have just been discontinued, probably because they were not reef safe, is my bet. Reef safe is.
I can send you the ones that I did take.
Yeah, I'm going with the same brand, but I'm going with one that I don't like and wouldn't otherwise use because I hate sunscreens that are flammable. I really don't like bursting into flames. All right, next question. Spring cleaning of any kind. I don't like doing it. One of the things as a Toastmaster that you occasionally have to do is get support for your ideas and motivate people to do things that they don't want to do. Motivate me the best you can to do some cleaning. This one is going to you, Lisa.
Thank you, table topic master. So I would delegate you to clean by first letting you know that I don't clean. I delegate all this to my husband because he is the cleaner in the house. He goes behind me and cleans when I do it. So I have chosen not to clean because he always does it for me. So I would encourage you to just start by doing the light work, doing the laundry. That's easy. Doing the dishes, maybe just doing the easy things, because I don't suggest doing the hard things first. That's just too much work. And just keeping it easy. Maybe like Justin was saying, start with the Swiffer, go through the house with that. Maybe sweeping the floor, things that are easy, just keep cleaning up after the cat, things like that. Just starting off with the easy things and then delegating the rest to a family member or your kid. So that's what I would suggest. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lisa. In fact, I did have to go and vacuum up because of the cat just last night. So when you have a cat, it's one of those things you just have to do. All right, in keeping in mind what we have in the way of time, let me see if either of our guests, if Seema or Barry, if either one of you would like to take a question. You don't have to, but if you're interested in one, I can do that. Just let me know. I can't see both of you at the same time on my screen, so if you would please speak up.
I'll pass this time. Thank you for the offer, though.
Okay, and Barry, just in case.
Yes, I have no clue. Sorry, I just got home. I was at the meeting in person,
Ah,
driving in the
okay.
car. So, yeah, go ahead. You ask me a question. I get 1 or 2 minutes to.
So yeah, the rule, so you have to make 1 minute.
Okay.
At 2 minutes, you will see the red flag and you still have 30 seconds to finish up.
Okay.
And the person who is the flag bearer tonight is going to be Jessica. So you'll need to make sure that Jessica is on your screen. And the question will go to you is going to be, tell me what your favorite spring holiday is and why. And that would include things like Valentine's Day, Mardi Gras, St. Patrick's, Mother's Day, April Fool's, Easter, Cinco de Mayo, any of the spring holidays.
Oh boy. Okay. So my favorite spring holiday, I would have to say, is Easter. I enjoy that. Easter egg hunting, putting out Easter eggs for my kids. I have a boy and a girl, 9 and 7, and they enjoy Easter egg hunting. I enjoy the time of year since it's not extremely hot or cold, which is, rare in Texas, but that's one thing I really enjoy about it. And also just the religious time of year for me is a nice time at our church. Let's see. Also, Easter means that the Masters Golf Tournament is coming around, which happens in April. And that is a great time of year for many golfers. And that's all I had.
All right. Thank you so much, Barry.
Okay.
In the interest of time, I do have some other questions, but in the interest of time, I'm going to cut it short at those 4. Let me call on a timers report. How did our 4 respondents do on their time?
We all passed. Good job, guys.
Excellent. Thank you. And I apologize, Barry. I should have also said that you needed to use the word delegate. I'm not sure if you did, but let me get a grammarian's report of who used the word of the day.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yes.
Oh, you knew that. Okay. At least you knew.
I just heard it, the one before.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, I missed that one.
How did our respondents do on word of the day?
Yeah, so like Barry said, Wasif, Jessica, and Lisa used delegate, and Barry forgot to.
Okay. Well, at least you knew that you were intended to, Barry, so that's a plus. We all have that problem. I hate it when I do the word of the day, and even I don't remember to use it. And I cannot tell you the number of times that's happened. It's really embarrassing. All right, so at this point, we have 3 people who are eligible for a vote. Vote counter tonight is going to be Lisa. Please send your votes to Lisa via the private chat. And it's going to be for one of Jessica, who answered the question about plants and spring planting, Wasif, favorite outdoor activity, and Lisa, who tried to motivate me to get my butt off the couch and do some cleaning. I'll give everybody just a moment to do that. And of course, if you have any comments for any of our speakers, feel free to send those as well, either directly to the speaker or to Lisa, and she will forward them on. All right, having given everybody just a moment there. Our next section of the meeting is going to be the evaluation portion. That's going to be led tonight by Karen Lee. Take it away, Karen.
Thank you, Mark. This is the evaluation portion of our meeting where our speaker gets some feedback, and then all of our duty holders give their reports, and then I give a report. And right now we'll have our speech evaluator, Rob Giles, go ahead and evaluate Lee King's speech. Rob, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters guests, and especially you, Lee. I want to congratulate you on a lengthy speech, and I'm going to go into a few points that I think you did very well. A couple of things, well, a few things that I think that you might think about for your next speech, and then one final thing, just a final point that I want to make. So let's get into the good stuff. First, your content. Amazing, a lot. You had tons in there. You had the transformation / evolution of birds. You had comparing birds to mammals, but also to reptiles. You talked about the reproduction and life cycle, as well as the diversity of all the birds. You talked specifically about Texas birds, which we can all focus in on. Another thing that I thought you did well was the use of the video, which really, I think, grabbed my attention. It pulled me in, and it was something that was geared to get us to kind of dive into what you're going to be going over. So I thought that you did a great job with using that. That was very effective. As far as one of the goals of your speech is that keeping the audience's attention. You kept my attention throughout with some great information and also some great visuals, as I just mentioned. So your content and the way that you presented it kept my attention, which was one of your goals. So you did well with that. As far as a few things that I think that you could think about is, one, I know you worked on a little bit of the technology before starting, but I think maybe a little bit more preparation with that, perhaps even having the video separate as opposed to having a link within your PowerPoint so that you can just bring it up, change from one window to the other and immediately start into that so there's no lag time and there's no question about what's going on. I found that during some of that, I was wondering, is this going to continue on, these issues with going back and forth and trying to figure it out? Is this going to go on for the rest of the speech? So I thought that kind of lengthened it out. So a little bit more practice with that might have helped. I thought that although in the end I had a little bit more of sense of your purpose and your organization, but as we were going through it, I thought, is this just a bunch of information regarding birds? But if at the end, I kind of felt like you transitioned from the evolution and you went into the reproduction and you went into the diversity. And then, so there was some form and some organization in that regard. However, I think that you lost an opportunity at the very end as you just kind of handed it back to the Toastmaster instead of coming up with some strong conclusion for us, something that we can hang on to and carry with us throughout the rest of the evening and week. One thing that I really, really liked about your speech, and this is something that I've seen throughout a few of your speeches, and that is that you deliver great content regarding animals, insects, all of those things. And it really tells me that if we need to delegate somebody to be a tour guide in an aviary, or perhaps just in a zoo, we know that we can count on you. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Rob. Madam Timer, did Rob qualify on time?
Technology. It's great when it works or when you get to unmute. He was over by 24 seconds.
Okay, thank you. At this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and call for our duty holders to give their reports. And as our counter, Tom Tariki, will you go ahead and give your report, please?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. First of all, Lee, outstanding 20+ minute speech and not a single ah, and I was listening very closely. Although I will say the content was very interesting and sometimes I got distracted from my accounting duty by just being absorbed in your content. But the only thing I caught, there were two really long pauses. One at the very beginning, right after you told us you were going to tell us some very interesting aspects of birds, and another long pause when you told us you'd share the video, and then it was a long delay before it presented. And I think those were technology related more than delivery related, if you will. Justin, Mark, Jessica, Karen, Rob, outstanding job. not I was listening closely, didn't hear a single was during the table topics. I heard a couple. Lisa, I heard a couple ums, and Barry, I think you had a couple uhs and an in there. And then Wasif, I didn't hear any ums or uhs, but I did hear a couple, pardon me, couple yas, like you said, don't forget your Zyrtec and sunscreen, yeah. And that to me struck me as being similar, a flavor of a crutch word or an or an ah. But that's all I caught. Otherwise, outstanding job to everyone. Back to you, Karen.
Thank you, Tom. Our next duty holder is John Vessels, as posture monitor. Will you give your report, please?
Thank you, Karen. Okay, not a lot of posture tonight, but we did have some good uses of posture tonight, and that was Jessica. You had a lot of good uses of your hand. You touched your chest. You had a lot of hand movement going on up there. One thing you want to watch is don't park, one hand and the other all the time like that. It gets almost close to like wringing hands, and that shows a sign of nervousness. So don't be doing that, holding your hands out in front of you like that. But all your other movements and everything were outstanding. Wasif, excuse me, I'm just eyeing all over the place. You scratched your nose at one point. And also Barry, you touched your nose for a minute. Also, you scratched your head. We try not to touch our body parts unnecessarily during speeches, but that's all. Good job, everybody. Thank you.
And as our grammarian, Madeline, will you give your report, please?
Yes, delegate was used so many times. I loved it. Tom, you used delegate in your duty holder announcement. It's awesome. And Justin used it as Toastmaster. And Lee, for your speech, I really liked your description of birds. I thought you did a really good job with descriptors in general. Also, this isn't totally grammarian's field, but I just really liked the video and the visuals and the charts. I thought I got your point across quite well. The word oviparous, I can't remember if I'm saying it right. That's really neat. I knew the term, but I didn't know the word for it. Very cool. Thanks for sharing. And just the general bird terms you shared, like clutch size, broods, incubation time, really helpful. And not only does it add to your speech, but it's just helpful descriptors for what's going on. And so also you described carrying the foreign egg away, this whole situation quite well. I could picture it. Kind of a scary scenario for those little eggs. And endemic species, notoriety, birds of a feather flock together. I caught that one. That was great. So thank you so much. And then Mark had a couple, I just like the term speaking off the cuff. The light lavender blooms you described, very visual. And then the term, I don't like bursting into flames. So agreed. And then Rob, you used delegate, and then the word aviary is pretty cool. Jessica, you used the word delegate. And then I just like the term plant keeping. I know it's not that crazy of a term. I don't hear it that often. It's like beekeeping, but plant keeping. So I think that's cool. That's a very millennial term that I would like to really share with everyone. So thank you for sharing. And that's all I had. Thanks to everyone who used the word of the day, delegate. Great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Madeline. Also, I'll go ahead and give my report. We did get started just a little bit late. Lee was working on his video, and I thought that the theme of the meeting was very good. We talked about, Justin talked about cleaning and spring, which is very appropriate for this time of the year. And also, Mark was able to use the theme of the meeting to make up questions for table topics. And also, when Rob evaluated Lee's speech, he did give him several different suggestions for improvement. He also, his evaluation was very positive. There were a lot of things that he brought out that he liked in his evaluation. He also did use the word of the day in his evaluation. And right now, I'll go ahead and ask for a vote for the big three. And that will be either the Toastmaster, which is Justin, and our table topics master, which is Mark Schroeder, or myself, Karen Lee, as your general evaluator. Go ahead and vote and chat and send your votes to Lisa. And I'll go ahead and turn over the meeting now at this particular point in time to our president, Lee King.
We're checking, Lee. If you're there, you're on mute.
Lee, you're on mute.
There we go. Yeah. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Welcome to the business portion of the meeting. I'll just jump right in there and introduce our guests. So, Seema, if you could please tell us how you found us, what you thought about tonight's meeting, and what brings you to Toastmasters.
Thank you, everybody. So I looked up Toastmasters online and tried to see what different days the clubs meet. I experienced one last Saturday, and this is my second time. I've had exposure to it years ago, and ever since I've been wanting to join a club. I struggle with public speaking, and I've managed a Girl Scout troop for many years. And now I feel I need to kind of improve my skills in this arena. And I found this to be very helpful and, understanding for everyone's positions, like the assigned duties in the program, and how everyone's focused on their own, I guess, area. So I really enjoyed being part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Barry. Can you please share with us the same thing, how you found us, what you thought about the meeting, and what brings you to Toastmasters?
Okay, hi. I found Toastmasters through, Google search, found a local branch near me. I live in University Park area, so it's close. It was a little bit hard to figure out at first. There's so many different organizations that I didn't know how it all worked, but my supervisor, vice president, suggested I join, and I've had a few friends that have done Toastmasters over the years. It's been way back in the days, but they said it was awesome. So figured this would be a great opportunity, and perfect speech, working home from COVID for the last couple of years and working home, you lose some of your personal touch, and I feel myself using and like, as you heard, a lot of these things, and just to learn how to speak better, meet nice people, become a better public speaker.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Just a few announcements. We don't have a lot for this evening. First, dues are due. So if you have not paid your dues, please don't forget to do so. It is $90 for the next 6 months. Also, we will be returning to hybrid, I should say hybrid. We will be back at Ozona for those that would like to partake in face-to-face starting next week. Again, we were moved out of there. Both rooms were booked this week. So we were completely virtual. And of course, last week with the weather, we were completely virtual, but we will resume hybrid starting next week. Other than that, I don't have any other announcements. Let's go ahead and hear who won.
All right, so the winner of the table topic speaker is going to be Jessica. And the winner of the big three is going to be Justin.
All right, and with that, the meeting is adjourned.